Hey, Kevin Lawrence here. I am super excited to be here with one of our amazing team members and advisors, Tim Dumas. And we're going to just interview Tim Dumas to understand his perspective and story and how he came to be one of the advisors and coaches here at Lawrence and Co. And a little bit of background about Tim is Tim actually was one of our clients. He was part of a family business that Dean, one of our advisors, was working with on strat planning and working with the family on the business for a number of years, and then another advisor, Tim, took that over. And so Tim was a client, and so we got to know Tim through him being in the room with our team. And when Tim decided he wanted to kind of go more in this direction and do some things outside the family business, it seemed like a natural transition. And now he's one of our team members. He's still got some involvement in the family business, which is continuing on. But so it's an interesting story. And Tim, thanks for taking the time today to share your story and maybe just do a little bit about you. And basically, where like right now you live just outside of Vancouver, but I want to get the story of where did Tim Dumas grow up and what was that like?
Sure, yeah, Kevin, and yeah, the original story about how I joined Lawrence and Co. too is Dean came in, and Dean was strategic planning with us, and I knew in our family business that I would grow to a point where I wasn't involved day to day. I knew that was going to be sometime in the next, let's say, 10 years from then. And as I got to know Dean, I realized that my passion was really for the people.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mind the product we were selling, but I could really sell any type of widget. I just wanted to help
Yep.
to grow people, and that's what eked me up. And that's how it got to where I am today, spending most of my time with other great companies that do the same kind of thing. But where I grew up was I spent a lot of my childhood till I was about 15 in Victoria, British Columbia, just a little island off the coast of Vancouver. And moved over to Vancouver when I was 15, finished high school in Greater Vancouver, and have been in the general area ever since, with the exception of 1 year where I lived in the thriving metropolis of Erie, Pennsylvania, to go to school and to get my education in football. I mean, in business administration.
And you played a bit of football when you were there too, I believe, right?
I played college football down there at Mercyhurst College, and then I finished my college career at Simon Fraser in just outside of Vancouver here. And now, to this day, I still coach high school football. I joke that I coach in the boardroom by day and in the on the field by night. And this is just
Yeah.
my moonlighting gig, so I can coach football in the evenings at the local high school.
Yeah, and that's not really so much of a joke. Like I know you have a deep, deep, deep passion around football and obviously the coaching and the leadership. So outside of your first career in football or start of a career, like when you finished your formal education in college, what did you do? Where did you end up going first? What did you do to start off in your career?
So my first career, I would say, after I graduated university, was at Ernst and Young, the Big Four accounting firm. And I really took, I said to myself, I want to grow, and I'm going to
Is that a
take.
football team? Is that a football
Yeah, I
team?
wish. No, I wish it was. But I'll tell you the recruiting ploy of Ernst and Young. So I was deciding between Ernst and Young and another Big Four firm, and I was kind of actually, to tell you the truth, leaning the other way. And one of the partners of the firm called me up and said, Tim, we need to go for lunch. And he said, Tim, I really understand you. And he brought me a Nerf football that's at Ernst and Young at it. And he goes, this is going to be on your desk because this is who you are. And that sealed the deal. And so it really, Kevin, I know you talk about
That's
giftology a
smart.
lot. And it was a gift that probably cost $2.50. But he knew the way to my heart and what's going to lead to my passion. And that was really that was life-changing for me.
That is awesome. That is brilliant because it's a perfectly relevant gift for you. It's like a I know you gift. That is awesome. Good salesmanship or salespersonship. I love that. Cool. So, like, I'm almost afraid to ask my next question I wanted to ask you is about what excites you to get out of bed in the morning because I know you've got lots of great and almost always positive opportunistic energy, but I'm going to ask you. So what does get you excited to get? I know you're excited, but what do you get fired? What gets you fired up?
Yeah, so it's funny you ask this today because you and I were just talking about that. My alarm went off this morning at 3:45, and
I
that's
know.
not normal. I'm an early morning person, but this morning I got to speak I was doing a speaking engagement for a group of accountants in the UK, and that was at 12:30 UK time, which is 4:30 a.m. here. So I was ready for that. But what gets me up in the morning, Kevin, it's things like this. I gain energy from the people around me.
Hmm.
I gain energy from seeing people grow. You know, you talk about my passion in football, and certainly I have a passion for that game. But really, it's about what that game does for people and how we can grow people in that game. I get eked up about seeing our kids go on to university and then go on to be leaders in the community,
Yep.
in their
Yep.
families, etc., which really is no different than the strategic planning that we do. When we do one-on-one coaching with executives, when we do strategic planning with their companies, it's about seeing them grow to their
Yep.
version of success. And that's really what gets me amped up and why, almost every morning I'm hopping out of bed as quickly as I can. I will confess to you that 3:45, I was a tiny bit slower than usual this morning.
Yeah, that's understandable. It's interesting. I was on last night with one of the CEOs that we coach in another country, in different time zones. So I was late call. But you know what? I saw this CEO who's wildly successful and been working with him for a couple of years, and I got to see this light. His eyes were lit up. He was happy, and he has found this place where his business is getting better, and he's found this inner peace where he's loving instead of being driven crazy by his own life and his existence. And I'm like it doesn't get any better than this. The business is getting better. He is thriving and happy as a person. And those things sometimes fight each other. And it's incredibly rewarding just to know that you're seeing another person get to another level or thrive. It's yeah. And for those of us that do this kind of work, it's not for everyone. It's incredibly, incredibly rewarding.
It's Kevin, it's kind of like I got asked yesterday about by an executive about work-life balance, right? And I said, really, to me, it's like work-life integration. It's not like we're a waffle where every part of our life and our work and life is split up. I really look at like a bowl of spaghetti. And how can I intermingle? How can we
Totally.
intermingle all those things to live our passion? And I'm working every day, not only with myself for myself and for our clients we work with to figure out how can we just slightly tweak that to be better and better and better. And one thing for me is just being completely present where I'm at the moment. So for
Yeah.
example, for the next little bit of time, I'm with you. My phone's off. I won't answer it. I'm focused on you. Just like in my next meeting, I'll go to that. And then the next one, then when I coach kids on the football field tonight, my phone will be off and I'll check it right after. So people sometimes say, Tim, I think you're always available. I'm like, I'm not always available in the exact moment. I'm always available in the exact day, right? If you
Yeah.
call me, if you text me, I'll find a way to get back to you. Maybe it's at 7 o'clock at night if that works for you, but I'll find a way because I'm deeply passionate about doing those things. But just in each moment, I'll be available for what I need to do in each and every moment.
Right. And for context, for people watching this that may not know, Tim also has a fairly substantial family, and you have six kids between the ages of
8 and 19.
right. So outside of a family business that he's involved with, and his work he does as a coach and advisor with us, and coaching football, he also has a fairly substantial family that is not overly normal these days. But you've got energy for all of those different things, and by focus, what you're saying is you're focused on what you're doing, and then you've got the gaps in between where you will do other things. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's all about Kevin about
So
like striving for that greatness, right? Like there's
yeah,
hiccups along the way, but
of
knowing what
course.
my priorities are, what my priority is in the moment, and working towards it on a daily basis.
Yes, and that's what most of the people that we work with are up against. Most people we work with are up to big things in the world. They've got most of our clients and the executives and the CEOs, they've got big commitments to their business that they've got to manage. And they've got big commitments to their family and their community, plus other things going on. That's even, like an oxygen mask first. As I also, the work-life balance is a broken concept. At the end of the day, balance is boring anyways. Most people who work don't want balance. but we got to have enough energy for ourselves and for our family and for our work, and to be able to bring our best to it when we do focus on those things. Awesome. So who in terms of your leadership, you've had lots of different people that have shaped it. Who do you think has had the biggest impact on your philosophy and approach, and your own leadership?
Well, there's so many, Kevin, but one of the questions you asked before was what was your first career? And my first
Yeah.
career, after university was Ernst& Young. But my first job was at the age of 10 as a paper boy, delivering the Morning Times columnist newspaper in Victoria, BC, 7 days a week.
Right.
And I'll never forget, on my 10th birthday, I walked down the stairs and my dad greets me with a birthday cake and says, "Happy birthday, son. It's now time to get a job." And not many people hear that
Really?
on the
Really?
10th birthday. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 10th birthday is like, we should talk about getting a job. And I'm like, I don't, is that legal? And he's like, oh, it doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. So we go down to the local newspaper, the Times Colonist, and apply to be a paper boy. And at that time, I was too young. They said, "You're too young." And my dad said, "Don't worry, I'll sign off on it." So it was officially in his name. And so for years, I think it was for 5 years, we had this paper route. And he would take me and my brother, who was a year younger. He would drive us to the first stop and we'd put all the papers in his car. He'd drink a coffee while we'd run out and deliver papers. And as we were doing this, he was an entrepreneurial businessman person as well. And so he started writing on the top of every paper, "Good morning, Mrs. X, good morning, Mr. X," whoever those people were. And he'd write little notes as we got to know these people. And so, really, there's so many leaders that have greatly shaped my career and my life. But I look back to that, and when I look at, how important customer service is to me, and doing those little things, when you talk about
Hmm.
giftology, when you talk about what are the little things you can do to make a difference, I can't tell you how many of those people who reached out and said, "I can't believe this. This was amazing." And we wrote 3 words on the top of the newspaper.
Yeah.
So that was one of my most vivid memories of shaping who I am today.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool that your dad, it's interesting. My parents didn't say you need to go get a job, but I also got a paper route, I think at 11. And that was my first. I always had little hustles here and there and selling painted rocks and tadpoles. I was always entrepreneurial, but paper route, but I did not like it. And that was, going out on a rainy day in Vancouver delivering papers. That was not, it wasn't for me, but I did do it for a while. And it's a great way to learn work ethic and discipline and responsibility.
It probably shaped who I am today as far as being more of a morning person, right? Like, someone says to me,
Interesting.
"Tim, do you want to have a 5:30 a.m. meeting?" I'm like, all in. If they said to me, "Tim, do you want to meet at 8:30 tonight?" Look, I'll be there for you. I'll figure it out, but that's not my best time of day. Because
Interesting.
as a kid, I was waking up at 6 a.m. to deliver papers from 6 to 7.
Love it. Love it. The paper route, dad sitting there having a coffee, making notes, and you running around chucking papers at people's doors. That's awesome. So you shared a bit before about what, how'd you become an advisor and coach? And you sort of shared that you liked, the people piece of it now. But is there anything else that kind of made you really decide that, being in the family business was great, but you really wanted to do more on this? Anything else to add on to that?
Well, I think the coaching piece has always been my passion. I just didn't know it, and really, I think that's the reason why I was put on this
Oh.
earth. When I was playing college football, I'll vividly remember the day my dream of coaching college football died. I was walking off the field with my head coach in Erie, Pennsylvania, one of the other greatest leaders I've ever met. His name's Joe Kimball. And as we're walking off the field, his 2 little kids come and they give him a hug. They were about 6 and 8 at the time, 2 little boys. And we continued to walk off the field together after he gave him a hug because we were going to a team meeting. And he looked at me, he said, "Tim," he goes, "I love coaching and influencing young men." But he goes, "During the football season, the only time my kids can see me is if they come to practice because I leave before they get up and I'm home after they've gone to bed." And I made that decision in my mind at that time, because one of my priorities was family, even though I didn't have one yet. I knew that would be a priority for me. And so I made that decision, and my dream of being a coach died until that day
Oh.
when I met Dean Ritchie, and who's
Hmm.
a fellow Lawrence and Co. Coach. And so I just thought, I'm never going to be able to be a coach. I'll get into business. I'll lead
So you had
people.
an interest in the coaching back when you were playing football?
Yeah, I thought I'm going to take this as far as I can as an athlete, and then I'm going to coach.
Oh, but because of the lifestyle and the quality. Interesting. So because you see that would conflict with your desire for a family.
Right. Yeah. So basically for
Interesting.
next pretty much 2 decades, that dream was dead. And I had been brought up in the family business where, outside coaches, consultants, like they're a waste of time, right? I remember being told my first day in the family business, hey, here's what you do. Put your head down, work hard, don't come up for air, 16 to 18 hours a day, and then it'll all be good. In general, working hard is a very good thing to
Yes,
do
it's an effective strategy often. Yes.
and gets you far, but not as far as you could. So for the first decade of my leadership career, I wasn't getting outside feedback. I wasn't listening to others. Not that I wasn't open. I was just too darn busy in the four walls I was in. And when we met Dean, I was a little bit skeptical at first because I'd been
Of
told, hey,
course.
this is hocus pocus. It doesn't work. So when Dean came in, it wasn't quite right away, but on the second or third meeting, I said to myself, this is magical. And this is
Yep.
changing our trajectory because we now have an effective strategy. We were a business that was doing reasonably well. We could be doing better, but we were still doing reasonably well.
Yep. Yep.
But he brought that into us. And that's when the light bulb went off that I can coach within my organization. And
You
I did
saw it.
that. I had
Yep.
a coaching certification within months of meeting Dean, or a few months of meeting Dean. And then it went on to where I am today, where I'm an advisor with the family business and coaching full time.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's fascinating, and I like what you say about the skepticism as well. Like I remember, and I will make a note. Show David, if you're listening, David from a small town outside Vancouver called Chilliwack. I'm not going to use last names, but when David's father in a family business brought me in to work with him 20 something years ago, David, the son, was like, what's this? You're hiring a business coach, a consultant. This is garbage. What, dad? You're an idiot, basically. And that's what I came into in the first meeting. And then David came after and goes, oh, geez, this guy actually might be able to help us. And that was, close to 20 years ago, and that business continues to thrive. They're actually still a client of the firm. Another one of the advisors works with them now. But same thing, where people don't see it because there's lots of perceptions around it. But when you see that's basically somebody coming in from the outside with tools and perspectives and ability to facilitate through some challenging conversations, it's incredibly helpful if they have the skills to do it, right? And that's a whole separate piece there. But yeah, I love the piece on skepticism. So if we talk about today and the work you do, like what would you say, like within your work you do, how would you describe it and the sweet spot, the places that you love doing it most? Because within our firm, all of us have different types of core clients that we naturally have a fit with or affinity for. So yeah, what's the work? What's the sweet spot?
So,
We'll talk about the clients separately. Yeah.
yeah, given my background, it's certainly like small to medium enterprise businesses that are scaling from in that few dozen employees range, scaling to that hundreds of employees range that are looking for growth. Often that's family based, and certainly in family based, I have a lot of experience in that, which adds a whole nother layer of dynamic to that. But it's really those companies that are led by people that are focused on that growth to the next level, from that small, medium, few dozen employees to that few hundred, and really identifying that roadmap. If there's one thing, Kevin, that's most valuable, and that was most valuable to us in our family business, it was really the talent assessment that we do at Lawrence and Co. Going through those questions, identifying, are you an A, B, C player or a toxic A player? Really, before I started utilizing that tool, I had a hard time identifying what people were because I was a bit jaded because I liked them. And that's a good thing. They're
That's
good
weird. A people
people.
person like you really liking people and believing in people. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it. It's good,
No.
but at some
Yes.
point you also need to
It's
assess
good
them.
until it isn't. Yeah.
Correct.
At some point you need to assess them, not just like them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the sweet spot is how to get those right people on the bus. I love what Jim Collins said because I'm a people person, obviously. And Jim Collins, in his work with Good to Great, said, I wanted to get to the point almost where I would show that it's the processes and the strategy, not the people. And he said, everything in the data I kept coming back to It's always the people. It's always the people. It's always the people. So my excitement is getting the right people on the bus and in the right seats on the bus so we can utilize our strategy to grow.
Awesome. Yep. I resonate with that. And it's shocking how important the people piece is. I just interviewed earlier today one of our firm clients that a bunch of the advisors have worked with to helping with their growth. And they were talking about how the strategy tools and everything that management system needed to get in place. But the stuff around people was a huge gap that they had. And when you have a huge gap around how you look at and assess and develop people, you're going to have all kinds of problems in your business. And interesting, I think it's the hardest part. Like figuring out strategies and setting goals. Like it's hard work, but it's not emotionally taxing. Dealing with the people stuff is emotionally taxing if you care. And if you don't care about people, that's different. That's awesome. So if you look at the kinds of clients, so you're saying like small to medium, a couple dozen up through scaling. Anything else about the clients that you feel like you're naturally a really, really good fit with, or you really, really enjoy?
Well, we talked about that, we both don't love that term work-life balance, but some of my favorite
Yep.
clients who have come and we've been able to impact it the most have said, Tim, I need to continue to scale my business, but I also need to make sure that I'm the best husband, wife, father, mother, brother, sister, coworker,
Yes.
colleague that I can be while we're doing this. And then we balance, then we, identify, okay, what are exactly the priorities and how can we best set up this business so you can live your best life?
Yeah.
And that's really, if there's anything, there's really nothing more satisfying to me when they
Yep.
identify what their best life is as far as each aspect, work, self, life, and how they can go after that as a strategy. And one of my
Yep.
most, satisfying clients, he said to me, Tim, is it okay if we don't grow the business for the next year? And I said, well, at Lawrence Co, we're always striving to, 2x the business within 3 years, but tell me more. And he said, Tim, if I could just keep the business at the same level, revenue and net income, and if I could find a way to be that better, better person in my family and better person in the community and take care of myself better, it would be a
Mm.
massive win. And we get to the end of that year. And he said, Tim, our business stayed at the same level, but we did exactly what we wanted to do.
Yeah. That's great. And sometimes you need a catch up year like that. And that's a great thing with it when we're working with the owners of companies. They can make those choices, right? And they can make choices to keep it at the exact same size and not grow it, and then put other people in charge, or put other people in charge and then have them grow it. And that's great. Yeah, I'm with you. Like at the end of the day, when our clients win, the company wins, and their life enhances and gets better too, then that's the ideal. That's the ultimate win. That's the purpose of our organization, is for people to have success at work and thrive in their life too. It's both. Because growing a company is hard work, but if you put your head down for 18 hours, forget about your family, you can generally make almost anything happen. And yourself. But if to take care of yourself and have a great relationship and quality time with your family and your community and things like that, and do it, that's the hard part, because that's the advanced game that I think a lot of us in our team get passionate about. Awesome. So we know that you were up at 3:30 or 4:30 or some obscene time this morning, which is part of it. We work with clients internationally. I was on a call till 11 p.m. last night because I have clients in another country. But what I would like what are your resilience rituals? What do you do to charge yourself up? Like for Tim, what do you do for your own resilience?
So I think there's really, it comes down to three things. I think there's one thing is for resilience rituals is finding something where you can lose yourself in it, where in that moment, nothing else matters in the world, no matter how great or
Mm.
how bad my day was. I'm only focused on what I'm doing. For some people, that's hiking, swimming, running, exercise. For me, that's coach on the football field, where I go and I'm coaching those
Oh.
kids. And the only thing that matters is how the 4-3 cover four can work against the option offense, right? And that's
I have
all
no
that
idea what you're
matters.
saying, but it sounds really cool. Yeah.
But that's
But
all
you
that
lose
matters,
yourself. So
and
so
you're
that
lost.
charges you. Yeah.
You're lost in it. It energizes me rather than taking energy
Yep.
away.
Yep.
So
Yep.
finding that place in your life that you can lose yourself, number one. And I think two and three are taking care of yourself physically. For me, it's as I was younger, it was more running and jogging. As I get older, my joints aren't quite as good, and it's a little more biking. So it's a little more of this. And then also taking care of that spiritual side, where some people do that through like hikes, walks in the park, meditation. For me, it's some morning prayer rituals, right? And so really taking care of those three things, finding a place to lose myself, taking care of myself physically, and then care of myself emotionally and spiritually.
So that is coaching football, exercise, generally cycling, and then prayer rituals.
Yeah.
Awesome. 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 Cool. So last thing that I wanted to ask you about is the best advice you have ever received. One piece, and I know you've got probably lots, but if there was one piece of the absolute best advice you've ever received.
While there's so many, Kevin, I was thinking about this. One piece that I haven't heard as much and that really shaped me is this simple phrase: surround yourself with game changers. Surround yourself with game changers. If you're an athlete trying to get to the next level, you're going to surround yourself with other game-changing people and coaches that'll get you to the next level. Why do you have strategic planning coaches, executive coaches? To surround yourself with game changers to get to the next level. And that's one thing that was missing in that first decade in my career. I didn't come up looking for game changers. And now I look for game changers in all aspects of my life and in my business life, financially, accounting wise, marketing wise, finding people in each area that when I need a game changer, I can reach out to. And so if there's one thing I could touch
That's
on,
awesome.
it would be that.
Yeah, and that's a chapter in your Oxygen Mask First, which is called 14x Advisors. People that have been there and achieved whatever it is you're trying to achieve or solved whatever you want at least 14 times before. So if you want to take your business and franchise it, you don't go to the local lawyer who knows the law. You go to the person that's helped 14 people take their business and franchise it, or whatever, whatever it happens to be. Yeah, it is interesting, Tim, because a lot of people get convenient advice versus who is the best person who is a master. And it's interesting for me, one of my resilience rituals in the past, not as much today, but it's been racing cars. And when I want to learn how to drive a new race car, then I go find the guy or girl, whoever it is, person who is a master of driving that kind of car, like professional racers. And I've had a number of them that have helped me over the years. And you learn a lot. Now, my buddies can also help me, and they can help a lot. But there's nothing like the absolute, you call game changer, I call it 14xer, who's done it so many times at a mastery level, and you get there dramatically faster.
The shocking thing I've figured out about this, Kevin, is that I've been shocked at who will talk to me. And one of those game changers, I love to do speaking engagements. And so I was trying to find game changers of people who are best in the world at speaking. So I Google on the internet who's best in the North American Speaker Bureau. And I came up with this woman named Patricia Fripp, who's based in San Francisco. So what did I do? I emailed her. And like an hour later, I get a phone call. I'm in the grocery store buying bread. And she's like, "Hey, Tim, is this a good time? This is Patricia Fripp." And never in my wildest dreams will I think she would talk to me. So when you ask, good things happen.
Human beings are wonderful, and a majority of humans are happy to help. The challenge is you just have to go and ask. That's awesome, Tim. So any final things you'd like to share? Anything else? We're kind of getting to know you and what you're about. Anything else you'd like to share? For me, I guess you go first. Anything else you'd like to share?
Well, Kevin, I absolutely, I'm so happy to do this interview because, I talked about game changers or 14xers. That's for you. You're one of those people for me. And so getting to work with an organization like Lawrence and Co. We currently have over a dozen game changers in our business who are some of the best. And some people ask me, why do you want to be on a team like that? I'm like, I want to surround myself with those people because I'm going to get better every day by being with you, Dean, and all the other people within Lawrence and Co.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm honored the people like yourself and the others on the team. I've got all these different people. And after me doing this for 30 years, I was just bragging about you the other day with one of the exercises you tested at our retreat, which is the create your own song. And I shared it with another CEO yesterday, and he's like, "Oh, that's good." And again, so we all learn from each other. Like when you're surrounded by masters, and you spend time together as we do every month learning from each other, amazing, amazing things happen. All right. Well, Tim, I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to work with you and have you as part of our team. And I'm glad that your dad got you going strong at 10 years old with your paper route, almost quasi illegally. But I'm glad your dad creatively, I would say, got you going and got you here. And I'm glad to get the opportunity to work with you. And
Such a pleasure,
cheers.
Kevin.
Yep. Yeah. Yourself as well. Thank you.